In the vast expanse of the 41st millennium, the transformation from a mere mortal to a Space Marine is a process that, dependent on the chapter, may be shrouded in some mystery. However, this metamorphosis is an amalgamation of both science and ritual, imbuing a select few with superhuman abilities that defy the limitations of normal humanity. Central to this metamorphosis are gene seed implants, intricate biological devices that bestow their recipients with extraordinary powers. From the ability to spit corrosive acid that can eat through even the hardiest of materials, to the macabre practice of absorbing memories of the fallen through consumption of their flesh. These implants are nothing short of miraculous, one of the Emperor's greatest creations. Furthermore, they also may provide protection from the ravages of radiation and, in certain circumstances, may cause the extreme darkening of skin in order to shield them from the harsh realities of some environmental conditions on the battlefield. Remarkably, these warriors are also able to endure extended periods of combat without the need for rest, achieved by selectively shutting down segments of their mind, an ability born from these implants and necessity driven by ruthless efficiency. However, it is important to note that the path to becoming a Space Marine is fraught with peril and uncertainty. Prospective candidates must undergo rigorous psycho-indoctrination and conditioning, a grueling process to forge their minds and bodies into unyielding bastions of resolve. However, not all who embark on this journey emerge unscathed. Many will succumb to the unforgiving trials that lie ahead. In some chapters, the acceptance rate of many of the implants is extremely low, so the procurement of proper aspirants is of paramount importance. It is of tantamount importance to understand that even the hardiest of individuals may not have all the requisite attributes to fully undergo the transformation. This is due to the gene seed implants demanding specific genetic makeup, one that aligns with male hormones and physiology, along with the psychological characteristics that lie there within. Consequently, only a select few are even deemed compatible enough to undergo the first processes. Their suitability is determined through meticulous tissue compatibility tests and psychological evaluations. Those who pass this stringent process ascend from mere aspirants to neophytes, embarking on a journey that will ultimately culminate in their status as fully fledged Space Marines. Nevertheless, the process does not end with the implantation of organs. Rather, it is just the beginning of a multifaceted regimen that encompasses training, hypnotherapy, and chemical treatments. Only through these complementary measures do the dormant implants awaken, unleashing their full potential and transforming recruits into formidable warriors for the Imperium. Intriguingly, the age at which individuals are inducted into the ranks of Space Marines is a matter of utmost significance. Typically, recruits enter service between the ages of 16 and 18, a period which will be marked by physical vigor and mental adaptability. This is a testament to the meticulous planning that underpins this arduous process. The intricate web of implants, that is gene seed, unfolds in a series of 19 to 22 distinct organs. Each implant is a marvel in and of itself of biological engineering. However, the removal, alteration, or failure of a single organ can send ripples throughout an entirety of a gene line. This is in part due to the intricate lattice of organs and implants having to function in a fine-tuned harmony, many of which have deviated and mutated to better suit the gene lines of each individual Space Marine lineage. Such interconnectedness underscores the formidable challenge faced by the Adeptus Astartes as they navigate the perilous realm of gene augmentation in order to create more Space Marines. This is compounded even further when one takes into account the divergence observed amongst a myriad of different Space Marine chapters, seeing as even those who are Codex compliant and visually no different than any other will have a unique genetic heritage, along with both physiological and psychological quirks and characteristics, which must be taken into account, in particular when creating and crafting the methodology that governs gene seed implants. Some of these bespoke approaches include things such as insanguination, the submerging of the aspirant in a sarcophagus filled with blood, even the terminology used to describe the implants beguiles their complexity. A gene seed organ, whether distributed across multiple implants or integrated as a cybernetic augmentation, will retain its nomenclature. This is a testament to the enduring legacy of their progenitor chapters and legions. At its core, gene seed and the organs created with it embodies the aspects of the Adeptus Astartes, encompassing all their superhuman abilities and the capabilities that define these revered warriors. Yet, as some of these organs are steeped in no amount of mystery, it is believed that the Emperor's very own DNA was cultivated to create the Primarchs in order to create a simulacrum through them of his own genetic gifts, ones that would be distilled and passed down to the Space Marine legions via gene seed. However, the passage of millennia has shrouded certain processes of creating new gene seed in obscurity, in part due to the loss of certain aspects of biotechnical knowledge, along with the genetic deviation that occurs over time due to the implantation and the harvesting of said gene seed. Thus it has become the sacred duty of the chapter's apothecaries to meticulously oversee the cultivation and integration of new gene seed into the ranks of the aspiring Space Marines. This is due to gene seed being more than just biological matter, but also being the sacred lifeblood of each and every Space Marine chapter, a repository for their identity and heritage. Each chapter's gene seed will indelibly bear imprints of its lineage, which manifests in a myriad of unique traits, some beneficial and others detrimental. These mutations, which at times are extreme distillments of the essence of each legion, may further prompt vulnerabilities to mutations, genetic anomalies, and genetic drifts. Thus, the biological aspect of gene seed is seen as a double-edged sword, which may shape the destiny of each and every chapter. These mutations are more often than not born from the unique genetic makeup of each Primarch, which will eventually give rise to a myriad of unique genetic aberrations, each a testament to the still evolving nature of the Adeptus Astartes. Amongst the most famous of these mutations are the flaws afflicting particular chapters. The Blood Angels, for instance, are plagued by the dreaded Black Rage and the nigh incurable Red Thirst, dire legacies which are mere echoes of the history they have inherited from their progenitor, Sanguinius. Similarly, the Space Wolves bear the mark of the Wolfen, a manifestation of primal ferocity and untamed spirit, which in essence transforms them into a myriad of lycanthropic beasts. Even the ill-fated Soul Drinkers chapter fell victim to the ravages of a particular warp-born mutation, as their ranks were decimated rapidly by escalating genetic decay. Moreover, the proliferation of Space Marine chapters has far exceeded the original 20 Space Marine legions, their numbers swelling due to the drastic needs that led to the second founding. Yet amidst this abundance of Adeptus Astartes lingers a dark legacy, for the more rapidly and more constantly that the Space Marine chapters have to be created, the more chances for a tiny minute flaw arise, which could create a deviation which risks the loss of a steadfast and loyal chapter from allegiance to the Emperor and humanity to the corruption of chaos. Now, with that knowledge in hand, we can shift into viewing the stringent requirements that are set for potential recruits, which serve as testaments to both the gravity of the transformation that awaits them and the intended outcome. Foremost amongst these is the necessity of the aspirant being male. This is a crucial stipulation rooted in the intricate interplay of genetics and hormonal balance, as attempting to implant Space Marine gene seed into a female would almost guaranteeably kill her, as the intricate biological machinery of the Astartes organs can only harmonize with the physiological framework of a human male, since the intent is to attempt to nudge the human body in the most drastic of ways to create a simulacrum of their Primarch. Moreover, the age of the aspirant plays a pivotal role in determining their suitability for the arduous journey that lays ahead. Adolescence, in particular early adolescence, marks the optimal window for implantation, as at that time, the human's body will be preparing for its natural production of growth hormones within the youth. which allow space for the gene seed to catalyze the development into a superhuman whose attributes almost exclude them from classification as humans. While the process may still yield results in individuals up to the age of the early to mid-20s, the efficiency diminishes drastically, and the chances for full rejection and death of the aspirant, meaning the loss of the gene seed organs, becomes more pronounced as adulthood looms closer and closer still. Yet the compatibility extends beyond mere biology, encompassing an intricate dance between immunologic and, in particular chapters, spiritual synchronicity and harmony. In these said chapters, the balance of attributes that the recruit has and their genetic makeup must align almost perfectly at every instance with the implanted organs, lest a complete dysfunction of the autoimmune system be caused, once again leading to the death of the aspirant and the loss of gene seed organs. Equally crucial is the mental fortitude of the aspirants, as they must be stalwart bastions, impervious to the insidious whispers of chaos, which in some cases will attempt to corrupt the individual in the midst of their oftentimes excruciatingly painful transformation. These stringent criteria serve as an almost insurmountable barrier for all but the most exceptional of individuals within the Imperium of man, and a testament to the value of the gene seed organs themselves. Should the aspirant prove worthy, their journey will unfold within the sanctified walls of the chapter's fortress monastery. In essence, they will be in a crucible of martial discipline and spiritual enlightenment. Here, amidst the echoes of ancient battles and the whispers of heroic wisdom, the neophyte will be initiated into the rites of combat and camaraderie. Each step along this harrowing path is fraught with peril, as a neophyte navigates the treacherous terrain of organ implantation along with psychoconditioning. This, along with the rigorous training necessitated to get their body into the prime conditions for them to survive implantation, becomes paramount in the eyes of the chapter. Yet it is through these trials and the suffering that lie within that the true metal of the initiate is forged, as certain chapters will use this process as a crucible to form the true character and identity of the Adeptus Astartes derived from their chapter. This will take years of toil and sacrifice, as fledgling warriors will ascend into the ranks of Space Marines, paragons of humanity's resilience and domination, ever determined to protect the realms of the God Emperor. This is designed to assure that the aspirant, who has had so many resources dedicated towards them, can survive the first fires of battle and their baptism into the brotherhood of the chapter, as they must now stand ready to confront a myriad of threats that loom ever present in the horizon. The legacy of their new brotherhood now etched into their very DNA. Now, the origin of Space Marine gene seed is actually an implant in and of itself, the paragenoid gland. This is the origin and linchpin in the creation of gene seed. Without it, no more Space Marines can be made. It is in large part what aids in maintaining the history of a Space Marine who has gone through the journey of neophyte to battle brother and now past. The gene seed stores are often kept within the sanctum of the fortress monastery, which houses the chapter, and kept near where the neophytes would undergo the crucible of transformation and the trials by fire themselves that would cast the worthy apart from the unworthy. And while this makes it one of the most well-defended of the Space Marines' resources, it also makes it a prime target for groups such as Chaos Space Marines, whose own gene seed becomes damaged due to the pervasive powers of the warp. But as long as the gene seed remains, the saga and the genetic heritage of each and every Space Marine endures. Now, central to the transformation in and of itself are two crucial implants: the interface, colloquially known as the black carapace, and the paragenoid gland itself. Foremost of these implants is the black carapace, a marvel of biological engineering that serves as a conduit between the Space Marine and his power armor. Through its intricate neural interface, the black carapace enables seamless integration with the ceramite shell and creates a bond that amplifies the warrior's strength, resilience, reaction time drastically upon implementation. Likewise, the paragenoid glands play the pivotal role of the perpetuation of the chapter's gene legacy, serving as repositories not just for the origin of gene seed, but for the genetic makeup of the Space Marine implanted. Meaning that in essence, a Space Marine created with gene seed derived from another's paragenoid gland can be seen as a direct relative or descendant of said Space Marine. Yet the successful implantation of these hinges upon exact timing, where a delicate balance has to be reached just between adolescence and full maturity. Ideally, the process must be undertaken before the neophyte reaches their 16th year, a window of opportunity when the body's natural growth process best harmonize with the transformative powers of the gene seed itself. And while technically feasible to initiate this process significantly later, the risks become manyfold, with mortality rates soaring drastically in such cases. Thus, Space Marines will almost exclusively opt out of implantation after the 14th year, and preferably, implantation must start around the 10th. This is because a period in the individual's biological life is characterized by vigor and mental malleability along with resilience. At this point, they would start training to some degree. Now, amongst the many implants is also a secondary heart, which drastically increases resilience and stamina, allowing a Space Marine to fight long after the ravages of battle would normally all but kill any normal human. This implant is nestled within the Astartes' chest cavity and functions as an auxiliary organ ready to fully assume control if the primary heart were to falter or be destroyed, all the while being significantly more powerful and allowing surges of vitality and fortitude hereto unthinkable for normal humans. Following closely in its implantation is the osmodula, a marvel of biological engineering that bestows upon the neophyte the gift of stature and strength that the Space Marines are known for. Through its intricate mechanisms, it will cause the skeleton to undergo a metamorphosis, growing drastically larger and becoming incredibly more resilient with each and every passing day, as the bones will absorb more of the ceramic-based material this implant produces. The Astartes will become taller and taller still, a visible legacy to the potency of gene seed augmentation. Yet it is the bistophasia that heralds the true might of an Astartes. This implant, along with the osmodula, unleashes a torrent of growth hormones that are designed to drastically increase the body's muscle mass. And not just the muscle mass itself, but the strength in each muscle will increase drastically beyond the norm, as it saturates the body with newfound strength, power, and endurance. Thus, even while standing as a colossus amongst men, a Space Marine's every sinew will carry the indomitable spirit and strength of heroes gone by. Rounding this triad of augmentations is a Hestaman, which imbues the Astartes' bloodstreams with what amounts to biological alchemy that allows for a remarkably increased oxygen carrying capacity within each and every blood cell, along with an increased metabolic efficiency. The very blood coursing through the veins of the Astartes will essentially be like liquid fire, rendering the warrior all but impervious to fatigue and injury. As the neophyte undergoes this crucible of change and implantation, he is now forever visibly transformed into a vessel designed to wage war. And at every single step, an implant may fail to properly adapt into its new host, potentially killing an aspirant and taking all other implants with it. Now the fifth implant would be the Larman's organ, also known as the healer, and it emerges as the saving grace of most Astartes. This organ, nestled within the Astartes' chest cavity, manufactures synthetic biological cells known as Larman's cells. And when an Astartes is wounded, these miraculous cells function better than even stem cells, jumping into action quickly forming scar tissue in a matter of seconds, staunching the blood flow and thwarting infection. It is this swift and efficient response that renders Space Marines nearly invincible to conventional damage, often being seen as defying death itself with each and every step into battle. The sixth would be the Kataspilan node, aptly nicknamed the Unsleeping. This implant unlocks new stores of endurance and vigilance within the Space Marine, and it is implanted within the recesses of the aspirant's cerebrum. This small organ grants the Astartes the ability to almost perpetually forgo sleep, and allowing them to undergo a trance-like state where the mind and the body will essentially be comatose. And in the midst of war, an Astartes can find rest by shutting down one hemisphere of the brain while maintaining the other alert and ready for combat. The seventh organ implanted is known as a Prenamor, also known as a Neutralizer, and it is designed to stand sentinel against the threats that lurk within the shadows. Implanted within the Astartes' chest cavity, this is essentially an organic decontamination chamber built within their bodies, designed to purge the body of any toxin or poison that could be within, rendering the warrior all but impervious to the machinations of biological and chemical warfare. This implant will also analyze and break down ingested materials, allowing the Astartes to consume the most unpalatable and resist all but the most deadly of poisons. The eighth implant is the Homeophagia, which due to genetic defects can be overactive in certain chapters, leading to a necessity to consume biological matter such as blood. This implant is known as a Remembrancer, due to allowing consumed matter to be a conduit for the memories and the whispers of those who have passed. It is implanted within the upper spinal cord, and the organ will absorb the essence of experiences and memories, integrating them into the Astartes once they consume the organic matter, granting the Astartes insights not just to their enemies' secrets, but knowledge and a way to remember their very own fallen. Through the consumption of indigenous fauna, Space Marines may embark on a journey through the planet's very history, allowing them knowledge equivalent to that of a native, often gaining knowledge that transcends the boundaries of mortal comprehension. The ninth organ is the multi-lung, also known as the imbiber, and it is implanted within the Astartes' chest cavity, functioning as a third lung, and it will help the Astartes defy the constraints of a conventional respiratory system, absorbing oxygen passively or actively upon the Astartes' own action. Equipped with a specialized sphincter, the multi-lung can aid in channeling its full capacity for utilization of 100% of the oxygen it imbibes, ensuring the survival of a Space Marine even within toxic atmospheres. The 10th implant is the oculobe, also hailed as the Eye of Vengeance, an organ that will grant an Astartes unparalleled visual acuity. This organ is implanted along the optic nerve and interlinked with the retina. This gene seed implant augments the Astartes' eyesight and enables them to perceive the world with unmatched clarity, and may even allow the Astartes to see in almost complete darkness. The 11th implant is known as Layman's Ear, also referred to as the Sentinel, and it is nestled within the Astartes' ear canal. This organ confers an immunity to vertigo, motion sickness, and other movement-related maladies, all the while drastically increasing their balance and equilibrium. The 12th implant is the Susan membrane, also known as the Hibernator, and this organ functions as a way to protect an Astartes against the fragility of mortality. Implanted within the recesses of the brain, the implant can plunge an Astartes into a state of suspended animation, allowing them to defy both the ravages of time and severe life-threatening injuries, endowing a warrior with the resilience to survive even the most dire of wounds. And the 13th organ is the Melachrome, and it is designed to protect an Astartes from both radiation and heat. This organ is linked to the Astartes' endocrine system, and the gene seed organ orchestrates the pigmentation of the warrior's skin, imbuing them with an almost supernatural resistance to lethal doses of radiation and scorching temperatures. Yet within this biologically shifting organ lies the chance for severe mutations, manifesting in the severely divergent visages of both the Blood Angels and the Salamander bloodlines, creating almost uniformly differing effects, regardless of being fully functional. Continuing the journey through the many gene seed implants, we reach the 14th, the olytic kidney, referred to as the Purifier, and it emerges as another defense against any toxicity that would threaten the Astartes' life. Working in concert with the Primaris, this organ sieves the blood and will expunge any and all toxins identified by the aforementioned organ, all the while maintaining the equilibrium of the warrior's physiology, be it hormonal or chemical. However, the price for this purification is steep, as once activated, it will almost automatically plunge the Astartes into full unconsciousness, thus being seen as a potential vulnerability in combat. The 15th organ is a neurotologus, also known as the Devourer, and it is implanted within the Astartes' oral cavity, and it allows an Astartes, through taste and scent, to discern the essence of the chemical makeup of the entirety of the world, all the while being able to distinguish between sustenance and even the merest hint of poison. In certain chapters, it is elevated to such an extent that it is often used to track prey, much like a bloodhound would. The 16th organ is a mucranoid gland, also known as the Weaver, and it will create a cloak of biological protection around the Astartes, as it secretes a waxy-like membrane that shields against all rigors created by the cosmos. This implant is nestled within the Astartes' very own nervous system and will respond to specific environmental cues and quickly cocoon the warrior so they may be retrieved later. The 17th organ is the very well-known Becher's gland, also known as the Poison Bite, and it is a double-edged sword which is implanted in the Astartes' mouth, and through a symphony of glands it can transform the Astartes' saliva into an extremely corrosive acid, capable of dissolving even the flesh of an orc. The 18th organ implanted is the previously mentioned progenoid gland. Also, it is what most will refer to as gene seeds, and they are nestled within the Astartes' neck and chest. These function as the reproductive organs of the Astartes, as they carry the genetic lineage and safeguard the genetic heritage of not just the chapter, but of the very Space Marine they are implanted within, essentially functioning as the blueprint and the base materials for the creation of new gene seed implants. This organ will weave strands of DNA into germ-like cells in a manner that they will now resemble seeds, giving rise to their name. These seeds are then cultivated by the skilled hands of apothecaries, as these germ cells will give rise to an arsenal of new gene seed organs, therefore ushering forth the next generation of Space Marines, thus ensuring the Primarch's legacies. The 19th organ implanted is the revered interface, the Black Carapace, and it is the ultimate nexus of the Astartes' symbiosis with their armor. This implant is infused within the neophyte's chest, and in essence it is a neuroreactive matrix which entwines with the sinews and the nervous system of the Astartes' very body, in the form of fibrous tendrils that weave themselves into his very being, connecting the man with his armor and weaponry in seamless harmony. Through pre-cut conduits, also known as sockets, an Astartes is now able to interface their consciousness with his power armor, melding flesh and steel into an indomitable force on the battlefield. Now onto the 20th phase. This phase in particular should only be taken into account for the Blood Angels along with their gene lineage. The 20th phase is also known as insanguination, and it is akin to a ritual shrouded in secrecy, administered by the revered sanguinary priests. Insanguination is the profound conversion ritual, wherein the essence of Sanguinius' gene seed is only imbued into successful neophytes through the solemn act of drinking from the blood chalice and being locked in a sarcophagi filled with blood. All the while, the Astartes is now unconscious and constantly attended to by blood servitors. They will remain entombed within the sarcophagi for an entirety of a year, There are slumbering forms sustained by the life support systems encased within each and every sarcophagi casket. Meanwhile, the very essence of Sanguinius courses through their veins, infusing them with the lineage of their Primarch. However, within this cocoon of genetic alchemy, there lies a deep peril, for within the shadows many will succumb during the drastic changes of this overwhelming metamorphosis, one which is seen so drastic that the Space Marines of the Blood Angels lineage who follow this tradition are seen as being changed physically as much as those of Vulcan's very own mutagenic gene seed, their bodies changing to a drastic extreme, one which is often touted as changing them significantly more so than almost any other chapter is changed. Many aspirants will also claim that all the while they see memories and glimpses of both the trials and tribulations, the highs and the lows of the life of their Primarch. This is to the point that some believe that the process of insanguination could be linked to the Black Rage and the Red Thirst. However, there are some chapters derived from the 9th bloodline that eschew the ritual of insanguination, such as the Flesh Terrors, who seem to disprove the link between insanguination and the Black Rage, for in fact, their choice to avoid insanguination has led to the speculation that it is the reason for their heightened susceptibility to the Black Rage and the Red Thirst, leading many successor chapters of the 9th bloodline to practice insanguination to an almost religiously obsessive extent. However, moving on to the psychological aspects after implantation of the gene seed into the aspirants is important. The next step in making a Space Marine is held within the chapter's sanctum, where neophytes will be subjected to constant, grueling regimens of chemical and hypnotherapeutic treatments. These treatments are shrouded in mystery, but are believed to hold some form akin to that of a religious service, and it is essential for the development and integration of the implanted organs into the Astartes' fledgling physiology. Yet, beneath the veneer of progress lies the specter of tragedy, as all too many an aspirant has faltered under the weight of the biochemical and hormonal stresses, their bodies betraying them just at the cusp of their transformation. For those unfortunate souls deemed unfit to endure the crucible of full implantation, often a grim fate will await. Some are consigned to the grim embrace of termination, their hopes extinguished before they could fully blossom and grow into heroes. Others are resigned to a nightmarish existence as mindless servitors, while others still become chapter serfs, working for the chapter diligently, serving those who accomplish what they could not, clinging to some semblance of unity within the chapter's very ranks. Now the saga of implantation will unfold in a myriad of stages. Within the tender years of adolescence, in particular, between the ages of 10 and 14, specific steps will be taken. Ages 10 through 14 are the inaugural phases of implementation, where the secondary heart, the osmodula, and the biscopa are implanted. Notably, the osmodula and the biscopa will often be prioritized during a single surgical odyssey. At times, these surgeries will be done with absolutely no anesthetics. From the ages of 12 to 14, when the adolescent's biological processes are in full bloom, the Hedemans and Laramans organs will be implanted. Yet for those in the later ends of this age range, their transformation will be perilous, as their body will work beyond overtime to attempt to survive the preceding surgeries. As the aspirants reach the age range of 14 to 17, the 6th stage will happen. The cataspline node will be implanted fully, along with the beginnings of more intense hypnotherapy and physical conditioning, all within the confines of a Hypnomat, a device of which scant details exist. Now, between the ages of 14 to 16, a flurry of implants will ensue. The paranomore, the omeophagia, and multi-lung will often be implanted within a single surgery. But this is just a prelude to the end of the implants, as the oculobe, the Laraman's ear, and the Susan membrane all are implanted shortly thereafter. Between the ages of 15 and 16, the aspirant will bear the melachrome, the elytic kidneys, and the implantation of the neurologatus. Each of these organs will be quickly implanted in short order. between the ages of 16 to 18, and what is seen as a culmination of the physical transformation into an Astartes, the mucornoid, the Becher's gland, and the progenoid glands, along with the black carapace, are all implanted within the neophyte. As the neophyte now reaches the age of 18, the final acts of becoming a Space Marine will unfold deep within the chapter's sanctum, and he will emerge, reborn and remade, as a paragon of strength and resilience. Yet some Space Marines will reach this stage at around the age of 16. However, this is highly unusual. Continuing from here, one must take into account the changes that happened with the recent integration of Primaris gene seed and organs, which differentiate this new breed of transhuman warrior from their firstborn brethren. This is because in his quest to perfect the Emperor's divine design, Archmagos Belisarius Cawl would embark on a quest of unparalleled ambition, armed with the genetic blueprints of all 20 Primarchs, even those not mentioned in stories and lore, and those who are seen as traitors and corrupted beyond redemption. Within this wellspring of knowledge, Cawl sought to transcend the limitations of the past, all with the go-ahead and the funding of Primarch Rabut Guilliman, who would desire that only the noble lineage of the Loyalists' Primarchs be used to create the Primaris. However, due to his religious views and his desire to maintain the designs of the Omnissiah, Primaris gene seed was designed using the blueprints of all the Primarchs, which has led the gene seed to an unparalleled stability. And with each passing generation tested, its genetic fidelity remains almost perfect, unlike their predecessors, which were plagued by the specters of genetic instability. Primaris gene seed boasts a mere 0.001% chance of deviation from its pristine baseline, in such a way that even if genetic deviation occurs, it can be treated and repaired. That is, unless they are implemented within the Emperor's very own designs, such as what Belisarius Cawl found within the bloodlines of the gene seed of both the Space Wolves and the Blood Angels, where he seems to believe that while they may be genetic variations and aberrations of the standard, the genetic aberrations of both lineages were there by the intent of the Emperor. The Wolfen, the Black Rage, and the Red Thirst are all viewed as being, by design, inherent to the gene seed, but potentially being aggravated by exterior factors. And as time went on, Cawl created his own gene seed implants. First among these marvels was the sinew coils, aptly referred to as the steel within, and they are embedded within the sinews of the Primaris Space Marines as durametallic coil cables, which are designed to fortify their strength, drastically increasing the upper ends of the Astartes' physical capabilities, as supposedly a mere flex of one of these sinews from a Primaris Space Marine can be used to crush the bone of even the most resilient. The next organ implant that was created was the Magnificent, a minuscule lobe nestled within the cortex of the brain. This implant is about the size of a thumbnail, and it secretes potent hormones which amplify the body's growth function, enhancing the performance of the other transhuman implants drastically, notably the Biosphere and the Osmedula, allowing for both a much quicker growth rate and significantly larger Space Marines. Yet the Magnificent is designed for an even greater purpose. It is designed to function with the Immortalis gland, crafted by the Emperor in particular for his Primarchs. Unfortunately, the full potential of this divine creation is greatly obscured due to the original being lost to the sands of time. As such, the true effects of this organ are not fully known. Lastly, amongst the implants created by Cawl is the Belisarian Furnace, and it is implanted between both of the Astartes' twin hearts, and will only be activated in moments of dire need or grievous injury, as it will unleash a torrent of self-synthesized chemicals, creating a potent concoction that mimics the effects of combat stimulants, all the while facilitating the swift regeneration of lost tissue, theoretically allowing a Space Marine to regrow entire organs if necessary, though they will not be to the same standards as those lost. However, they may be repaired through later surgery. After its use, the furnace will retreat into full dormancy, patiently awaiting its next call into action. Through the phases of the Primaris Alpha and Primaris Beta implantations of gene seed organs, Belisarius' call has created a series of steps to be taken, which render the Primaris Space Marines now nearly incorruptible to Chaos's touch, thus making the Primaris unwaveringly loyal to the Imperium and stalwart paragons of humanity's resilience, embodying the Emperor's will to a greater degree than even many of the Firstborn brothers. From the moment they are inducted as neophytes, both Firstborn and Primaris Space Marine initiates will be subjected to a battery of tests that will continue even after they become fully fledged Space Marines. These are overseen by the chapter's apothecaries, as they will vigilantly and meticulously monitor the implanted gene seed organs, endeavoring to maintain the balance and purity of the Space Marines, all the while swiftly addressing any signs of corruption or aberrant developments within the Space Marine, dedicating endless hours upon hours, which will allow a Space Marine to hone their combat prowess and the mastery of their augmented physiology. However, the trials of a Space Marine aspirant do not end once they join the ranks of Battle Brothers. Many will have a lifelong dependence on periodic drug treatments in order to maintain their severely enhanced biology. This is to maintain their metabolic stability, which struggles to keep up with their superhuman frames, even when embedded within their power armor. Thus, the power armor has an integrated system that monitors and dispenses these vital chemicals within the Space Marine's body. In the intricate tapestry of Adeptus Astartes indoctrination and the creation of Space Marines is the convergence of science, discipline, sacrifice, and an almost religious fervor which culminate in the birth of a superhuman warrior, sworn to defend humanity against the encroaching shadows that lie within the galaxy, all through the melding of flesh and psyche, allowing the emergence of stalwart guardians who embody the resilience of the Imperium against the Abyss.